Why are you springing up in my mind? Is it because I've seen Yonips dotting the city? Is it because it's October? The time where you'd make me hate you by breaking my heart. Breaking my heart so you could coast through and enjoy the freaky holiday season all to yourself. Freaky, yes, because everything you did, you had to sexualize or pleasure yourself through it. Immaturity of character long indulged. Hedonistic to the fullest. A clear mind wasn't something you craved. Overextended on X, slushed with SoCo and Patron. Blurry, fogged up with the smoke of ganja. I didn't hate weed. I hated your inability to accept life, to attempt it with any sense of pride, courage, selflessness. The only self was you. It was always all about you. It was never about me. The slow wasting away of self, the dissolving of compassion and clarity of what truth is. The bitterness bred from a person lost to themselves. If I had realized that, you couldn't have stolen my spirit and locked it away. Locked away for 5 fucking years. But bitch, I found the key. Ask and you shall receive. I received a penalty fit for you, but a penance due me for neglect of self, because I couldn't find myself. Webs of confusion spun from silk of my ignorance and naivety, hovering in a bubble that was my reality. I smiled at the view through rose-colored glasses. He spotted me from afar, and he knew exactly the distance he could blow me off course. Off my course, but onto his own. Riddled with invisible barbs and traps, it was too easy. Lured by sugared words and twinkling eyes that promised honesty, I journeyed further into you, trusting your guidance, believing you were the person you presented, not a projection presented for ill intent. My bubble popped, but I was already under your spell, stranded in your wild soul. I fought, seduced, acquiesced. The only tools emotionally available to me. I used them to their bones. And then I used my fingers to do the same, to the same end. But eventually I accepted fate. My fate. And locked away the rest of my soul, myself that still remained. Turned off to our world. You couldn't touch me. Immune to you and your hate spewed words. I actually thought I was free. But Abba is good. He mended my rose-colored glasses that had been shattered to pieces by your recklessly regularly reckless temper. I started to climb. I didn't realize the dark depths I'd have to plunge into, frightening depths within you. Not depths of wisdom and understanding, depths of depravity, sinkholes of jealousy, pitfalls of your insecurity. Encased within your fingers, my heart ceased to beat. My spirit dimmed to the sputtering flames that remain after a roaring fire has been snuffed out. Snuffed out by the careless traipsing of a fool. A fool caught up in his own mind. What he did with it, I surely don't know. And I surely wouldn't know. I wasn't allowed in that space. It was your man cave of secrecy. But you didn't need a cave for that. Your whole existence with me was a smokescreen. Blinded on both sides, we would see what you would have us. Me? I saw the side that you would keep hidden, that you wanted to keep hidden. The true ugliness you'd allowed to fester with neglect of a checked spirit. Oozing sores of unforgiveness, rotting flesh of piled grudges. A cesspool of collected jealousies. You saw yourself standing on a pure island of white, matching ensemble. You were to be rescued from the one you created, from the filth contaminating the very waters surrounding you, floating on an isle of me, myself, and I. You should be happy. But it's too much for you. Even now, petrified filth rotting before your eyes. Undealt with resentment and self-hate sucking at your knees. You cry out, "Save me, Mother." You cry, "Save me." And she would. Every time. Savior in white. I didn't see. How could I? It was a tag team effort. Blindfolded from the start, I couldn't see. You used your words, weeds of bitter lies, entangled with false apologies and gestures of romance. Manipulation at its finest. Love at its finest. Or so you told me. She used my God. How dare she? My love of the Father. We bonded over the connection we both had with Him. Our giving spirits and desire to serve others. You called me daughter. You cooked for me. You cared for me. Advised me. But it was a smokescreen. I hadn't guessed where he'd learned it from. Like a lioness, bringing back, like a lioness, bringing prey back for her cub. You returned me again and again into his jaws, locked solid like the door to his heart. Emotionally, I collapsed in unknowing defeat. They knew what wearied prey looked like, smelled like. None the wiser, I was cajoled with a gentle lick from the lioness. All was safe. All was okay. Return with me. I'll care for you. Blinded by the pain, The veil wasn't ripped from my view until, don't. He's upset. These were the words you chose to use in response to his blaming, shouting, accusing. I sat with the ones I'd loved for 5 years. In an attempt to extinguish, they closed their fingers over the wick, holding the barest flicker of my spirit still left aflame. But your words ignited me. Relit, I sprang into action. It may not have been immediate in physical form, but my spirit had moved against you as well as him. It was the final straw. After building monuments to him, with the millions fallen over the years we'd spent imprisoned with each other. Each straw had been collected and built into a reality I could handle living within. To view the flimsy edifice for what it was, insecure and unstable. To allow the collapse of blood-drenched and tear-stained years of glue holding the straws in place. To toss a single straw out meant to admit defeat. To fully realize the humiliation one endures under their mate's self-hate. Excruciating. Soul-ripping. Who was I? Where had I gone? Could I actually survive without him? Had I created this nightmare in my mind? He was still a good person, right? Was I truly to blame? Was it my fault? Could I really stay away? Why are you springing up in my mind? Is it because I've seen Yonips dotting the city? Is it because it's October? The time where you'd make me hate you? By breaking my heart? Breaking my heart? So you could coast through and enjoy the holiday season? The freaky holiday season? All to yourself? Freaky, yes. Because everything you did, you had to sexualize it or pleasure yourself through it. Immaturity of character long unchecked, long indulged, hedonistic to the fullest. Clear mind wasn't something you craved. Overextended on X. Slushed with Soko and Patron. Blurry. Fogged up with the smoke of ganja. I didn't hate weed. I hated your inability to accept life. To attempt it with any sense of pride, courage, selflessness. The only self was you. It was always all about you. Yonips, 10-10-19. You know, it's never easy healing, and it takes all of us the amount of time that it takes us. And there's no way to tell how long it's going to be to heal. for you versus another person, even if it's a similar experience, trauma. This coming Friday is going to be 6 years since I experienced rape. And every year on this date, I always set aside time for me to do things that make me happy because I'm unsure how I'm going to feel. But every year, I've learned something new because I'm new. I'm an evolved person, and I've intentionally been working on healing from my traumas. And so as I gain more knowledge about healthy boundaries and what healthy relationships look like and what healthy means for me and how I internalize trauma and how I create safe spaces and learning about Black culture, all of these things I'm reading about. So with more wisdom comes more perspectives. So I'm going to see something new every year. So each year you're working through the experience more and more. It's always something that's going to be with you, but it doesn't have to rule you. It's something I talk about when I want to, but it's still very painful, and it was 6 years ago. But I wanted to share my story when I felt called to by God. And different things have happened this past year that have led me to sharing my story more and more. So, Yonip is about my ex relationship. I was with my ex for 5 years. We talked about marriage, families, all of that. I was a part of the family. It was a very toxic relationship, an abusive relationship, primarily abuse verbally. And I was manipulated, and I was severely mistreated, and I was trapped in the relationship. And when it's a psychological entrapment, it's hard because the people outside of you, they can't even understand. I know a lot of people in my life who just be like, oh yeah, you're just going to get back together, blah, blah, blah. And it's hard to see when you're on the outside that someone's manipulated and they really can't see clearly. And it's unfortunate because sometimes you can't even help them, because some people would say negative things, but because my mind was conditioned by my current partner, I knew how to spin their negative words in defense of him, because that's what he taught me. He taught me to defend him. It's the Stockholm syndrome. And so it's a challenge for everyone involved. And I'm sorry, I lost my thought where I was going with this. I basically just want to tell you about what the poem was about. So, yeah, I was entrapped in that relationship for a very long time, and until the end, I didn't realize that his mother was also a part of the manipulation. And so, but, okay, so the timing was this. I was raped October 18th, 2014. Then my ex and I finally split right after Halloween. Then I met Ben the week before Thanksgiving. So like 3 weeks after I broke up with my ex, and like less than a month since I had been raped. So, and Ben is who I'm with now. It's going to be 6 years in December. So that was crazy. And because of how our society is and how it treats rape and the intersectionality of me being a Black female, I still had to work while going through all of this in order to keep my job. And that meant working with the man who raped me because he worked at the same job. And we worked. See, even just saying this makes me relive it. We worked about 3 events together after he raped me, and the company knew. But since I didn't follow through in pressing charges with officers because of, you know, what I decided through reflection and meditation with God and talking to trusted persons. When I decided not to pursue criminal action with law enforcement, my security job decided to basically back him over me. And so, yeah, I had to work with this guy, 3 different events, and it was, whew. So it's like I had to keep going to survive, to live. So this is why a lot of us have undealt with trauma, because we're not given the space and the time to breathe. And I've only been so blessed with this generous amount of time, not only because I made it a priority, but also because now I work for myself. And so I'm able to control my schedule and, you know, set aside time for myself, to really provide self-love. So it's going to, dang, I keep losing my train of thought. Gosh. Oh, okay. So we sometimes, you know, we haven't dealt with trauma and it's been quite some time. So it's like I had the trauma of being raped. The trauma that's layered on the rape is that he was a friend, he was someone I dated, he was someone I worked with. So all of those layers and the trauma associated. Then breaking up with someone I had been with for 5 years and thought I was going to marry. And then on top of that, the betrayal of being blamed for the rape. And then on top of that, his mother being betrayed by her. And then, so those are all traumas I had to deal with. And then on top of that, I had to deal with me, you know, what I felt as a human, and dealing with having to constantly remind myself that it wasn't my fault. You know, that's a question that just unfortunately always stays in the back of the mind of someone who has experienced assault or rape. Oh, well, that's my opinion. We're all different, but I think for most of us, I think that's true, you know. And yeah, so it was just a whole lot of trauma. And so as I worked through different things, different areas just come up on their own, and then I'm addressing them as they come up, instead of trying to be like, oh, today I'm going to work on my feelings surrounding being assaulted. And I mean, maybe some people do that, but for me, I am that's not how I'm able to deal with it. Because I struggled with always being in control, I've really worked on giving control to God. And so I've, you know, he knows the desires of my heart, and he knows that I want to be complete and whole in all of these areas and to work through things. And so I really just allow him to guide me and to reveal. I always say, Lord, reveal to me, you know, where I need to grow or what area needs to be tackled next, you know, stuff like that. It's like he will do that, and he knows, you know, the right order, and he knows how to keep it gentle for you. So I really recommend that you try something that you used to turn to when suffering a trauma, or try something new. So writing, who is to say who's a poet or not? You know, our standings in life are all based on what other people say. You know, we're all equal footing. So who's to say what a poet is? So pen your little heart out. You know, my poems have never followed any structure. I just write. And for a while that held me back from sharing, because I was like, oh, they're not, quote, professional, or they're not going to be accepted because they're not in this structure, and I don't want to restructure them. And it's like, no, this is my style. So you can, if you need structure so badly, you can create a poem structure named after me, because I'm creating this one. So write what you feel, draw what you feel, you know, speak what you feel. I use the video recording on my phone to record this. The camera to record this. I use the audio or the voice memos to record my spoken word. You know, just talk and listen to your voice and listen to what comes out of your mouth when you're just talking. your stream of consciousness, and you'll surprise yourself. So friends, there's a lot of different ways to heal. You have to find what works for you. Gentle exercise, I think, is great. Yoga is great because it not only works the body, physically and internally, your organs and all that, getting things going. It teaches you peace and meditation and staying in the space, and being present, as well as, unlocking some emotions, because some of the poses, our bodies are, we're designed in tandem with our spirit, and so they trigger each other. So, that's something that's great. Some people like coloring or, painting. Just get some acrylic paint for cheap at Amazon or Target or something, and I just use your fingers. I find it's very therapeutic when you can feel the materials of this world. So try that out. Go for a walk in nature. Start laughing, audibly. And smile when something makes you smile. So friends, I hope this poem and sharing a little bit about my story has encouraged you in some way, or emboldened you, or has, given you pause and makes you want to reflect on some things in your life too. It's important that we share our stories with each other, because we're all going through the same things. And we have different approaches, and our approaches may work out great for another person. So, and also by sharing your story, it's therapeutic. I'm actually being healed so much by sharing my story, and I didn't anticipate that. And it's a blessing. So I hope you have such an incredibly beautiful day, friends. And I'm so thankful, as always, that you're here with me to listen to what I have to say. All right, bye. Until next time.